to be that, and I know I'll go down in history. I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
According to Barbie, she is the reason people are watching the WNBA. She is the reason that people are paying $16 to watch the Chicago Bravado play the Phoenix Masculines later today. What a matchup!
The controversy surrounding the All-Star voting becomes even more complicated when you consider the bold statements Angel Reese made earlier in her career. During previous interviews and media appearances, Reese confidently suggested that her presence played a major role in drawing attention to women's basketball. Her comments reflected the type of self-belief that many elite athletes possess. Confidence is often essential for success in professional sports. Players who believe in their ability to shape the game are more likely to perform aggressively, take risks, and lead their teams in high-pressure situations. However, those same statements can also create expectations. When a player publicly declares that fans are tuning in specifically to watch them perform, observers naturally begin measuring whether the results on the court match that level of confidence. This season, those comparisons have become part of the conversation. Some critics have pointed out that high-profile games featuring Reese occasionally included shooting struggles or difficult scoring nights. Moments where she finished 2 of 11 from the field on national television quickly became talking points among analysts and fans. For viewers who were already skeptical about her claims of influence, those performances became evidence used to challenge her earlier statements. But for supporters, the criticism feels exaggerated. They argue that Reese's impact extends beyond a single box score. Her personality, competitiveness, and willingness to speak openly about the sport have helped generate conversations that bring new attention to women's basketball. In today's media environment, attention itself can be a powerful currency. Players who create discussion, even controversial discussion, often help expand the visibility of the entire league. In that sense, Reese's outspoken nature may contribute to the sport's growth even when her statistical performance fluctuates. Still, the All-Star voting results serve as a reminder that influence and recognition don't always align perfectly. And that reality has only intensified the ongoing debate about where Angel Reese currently stands within the rapidly evolving landscape of women's basketball.
Cap of caps. For the better part of 2 years, maybe even 3 years, the mainstream media has been trying to convince us that Angel Reese is a huge star. Some in the media even do investigative journalism and claim that Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA because she leads the league in followers on social media, along with missed layups and a
When the official All-Star voting totals were finally revealed, the numbers themselves delivered the clearest message. Ballots from fans, media members, and other voters were tallied, and the results placed the league's most productive players at the top of the rankings. But one name was missing. Despite the massive attention surrounding Angel Reese, she did not appear anywhere among the top 10 vote-getters. The absence was striking. In a league where public perception often elevates certain players into constant headlines, seeing Reese left out of the top tier felt almost surreal to many fans. Some supporters expected at least a symbolic appearance in the rankings, a sign that her popularity had translated into voting momentum. Instead, the results delivered something closer to silence. There was no partial recognition, no borderline ranking just outside the cutoff. Her name simply wasn't present in the upper portion of the voting list. For critics, that outcome reinforced the idea that all-star selections ultimately revolve around measurable production rather than personality or hype. For supporters, however, the result raised questions about how fans interpret impact within the sport. Basketball influence can manifest in many forms. Some players dominate through scoring statistics and efficiency. Others energize crowds, generate headlines, and bring new audiences to the game. Reese has often been associated with the second category. Her outspoken confidence, dramatic on-court celebrations, and ability to spark viral moments have made her one of the most visible personalities in women's basketball. Yet All-Star voting tends to reward the players whose performance numbers stand out most clearly. That difference between visibility and statistical dominance may explain why the voting outcome unfolded the way it did. Still, the discussion surrounding the results continues to grow louder as fans argue over what the rankings truly represent.
Why Mr. Dennis Rodman never got the backlash that Miss Angel Reese is getting? Because there is no athlete in the history of sports that have come into a professional league and proclaimed themselves to be the best or to be the reason why people are watching this league now. No athlete has ever done that. Not even Caitlin Clark, which we know that is the reason why we watch the WNBA, but you never hear Caitlin Clark say, I am the reason why we are watching the WNBA. LeBron James came into the league. You know what they nicknamed him? They nicknamed him the King. He didn't give himself that nickname. They proclaimed him to be the next one. And what's crazy is in the beginning of LeBron James' career, they said he was too nice. They said he wasn't cocky enough. There's a thing that we love about great athletes. It's called humility. It's a modest or low view of one.
As the debates continue to swirl around the All-Star voting results, one thing has become crystal clear: the conversation surrounding Angel Reese is far from over. In fact, if anything, the controversy has only amplified the spotlight already fixed on her career. Whether people are supporting her, criticizing her, or simply analyzing her performances, the level of attention she commands in the WNBA remains impossible to ignore. Moments like this often become defining crossroads for professional athletes. Being left out of a prestigious list, especially one as widely discussed as the All-Star rankings, can trigger a range of reactions. Some players let the criticism affect their confidence, while others use the moment as motivation to elevate their performance and prove their doubters wrong. For Reese, the situation now presents a clear challenge. The narrative surrounding her has shifted from early season hype to questions about consistency, production, and long-term impact. Fans who once focused primarily on her charisma and personality are now examining the details of her game more closely. They're watching how she performs under pressure, how she adjusts to defensive schemes, and how she responds to difficult stretches during the season. But this kind of scrutiny is not unusual for high-profile athletes. Many of the biggest stars in basketball history experienced similar moments early in their careers. Before they became established superstars, they faced intense criticism, missed awards, and endured stretches where expectations seemed to outweigh their immediate results. Those periods often became the turning points that forced them to refine their skills and sharpen their focus. Reese now finds herself standing in a similar position. The early portion of the season may not have unfolded exactly as some fans predicted, but the opportunity for growth remains enormous. The WNBA season is long, and momentum can shift quickly when a player finds her rhythm. A few dominant performances, improved shooting efficiency, or a string of standout games could quickly change the entire narrative surrounding her year. And in today's sports media environment, narratives evolve rapidly. One viral highlight, one game-winning performance, or one breakout stretch can transform public perception almost overnight. Fans who are currently debating her absence from the All-Star rankings might soon be discussing whether she deserves a larger role in the league's future. Meanwhile, the broader impact of this controversy continues to ripple across the basketball world. Discussions about Reese's performance have sparked larger conversations about how players are evaluated, how fan voting works, and what qualities truly define an All-Star athlete. Some argue that statistical production should remain the primary factor. Others believe influence, personality, and cultural impact should also play a role in shaping recognition. Regardless of where people fall in that debate, one reality stands out. Angel Reese remains one of the most talked about figures in women's basketball today. And sometimes, being at the center of the conversation, whether positive or critical, is exactly what keeps a player's story moving forward. The All-Star voting may have delivered an unexpected outcome, but the season itself is still unfolding. Which means the final chapter of this story hasn't been written yet. If anything, the controversy might simply be setting the stage for what comes next.
Bitch. Golly. Man, Angel Reese with a triple single, 9 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. She was a minus 25. She was 1 for 1 from the field, and it was a 3-pointer. She shot 100% from the field. She made a 3, 6 of 6 from the free throw line. 9 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Terrible game. Minus 25. Man, the Sky, bro, I don't know what y'all gonna do. Y'all like the punching bag between the Sky and the Kinetic.
When the shock from the voting results began to settle, many analysts started pointing out that the outcome might not have been as surprising as it initially appeared. While fans online were reacting with disbelief, others argued that the signs had been visible for weeks. In fact, some commentators described the situation as a predictable twist rather than a shocking development. From that perspective, the All-Star voting outcome involving Angel Reese resembled the kind of dramatic moment you often see in movies. Imagine a scene where a character delivers an intense speech while dangling from a helicopter during the final act. The tension builds, the music swells, and the audience already knows exactly how the situation will end. The suspense isn't really about what will happen. It's about watching the inevitable unfold. That comparison might sound exaggerated, but for analysts closely following the WNBA season, Reese's absence from the top 10 had been quietly predicted by several observers. The reasoning behind those predictions centered on a simple reality of All-Star voting: reputation and media attention can only carry a player so far if the statistical production doesn't fully match the hype. This doesn't mean Reese lacks talent or potential. In fact, many basketball experts believe she has the tools to become a dominant presence in the league over time. But early in the season, her performances have been somewhat inconsistent compared to some of the other players competing for All-Star recognition. Meanwhile, the WNBA currently features an extremely competitive field of players producing impressive numbers on a nightly basis. Athletes like Caitlin Clark and other emerging stars have been drawing massive attention with strong performances, highlight plays, and consistent scoring outputs. When fans sit down to cast their votes, those statistics often play a major role in shaping their decisions. That dynamic makes All-Star voting particularly difficult for players whose seasons are still developing. So when Reese's name failed to appear among the leading vote-getters, some analysts argued that the results simply reflected the current balance between media buzz and on-court results. Still, that explanation didn't stop the debates. Because for many fans, the conversation surrounding Angel Reese has always been about more than just numbers. Her personality, confidence, and ability to spark discussion have made her one of the most recognizable figures in women's basketball. And that's exactly why her absence from the top 10 continues to fuel arguments across the basketball community.
Saw what happened with Angel Reese. It took her 36 minutes to get it. And as soon as she got it, all these records, right? And why can't I celebrate it? The night before, she was just crashing out on social media, talking about all the fans who hate her because she's cute, hate her because of her rebound. And then what got to her was the whole me bounds thing, where people are saying that most of her rebounds come off of her shots. Y'all, if y'all watch this channel, y'all have probably seen, her social media take on that night.
Part of the reason the voting outcome has generated so much debate is the way Angel Reese's season has unfolded so far. Entering the year, expectations were extremely high. Many fans believed she would quickly establish herself as one of the most dominant young players in the WNBA. But the early stretch of the season has been somewhat uneven. Basketball seasons rarely follow a perfectly smooth trajectory, especially for players adjusting to new roles, tougher competition, and the physical demands of a professional schedule. For Reese, that adjustment period has produced moments of brilliance mixed with moments of frustration. Some games have showcased the qualities that made her such a dominant force in college basketball: relentless rebounding, physical interior play, and an aggressive competitive mindset. Other games, however, have highlighted the areas where development is still taking place. Missed layups, mid-range shots that refuse to drop, and defensive sequences that break down under pressure have occasionally appeared during her performances. When those moments accumulate over several games, they naturally become talking points among analysts and fans. Highlight reels can sometimes exaggerate those struggles. When clips are edited together and replayed repeatedly online, they can create the impression that mistakes are happening more frequently than they actually are. Social media thrives on dramatic moments, and both successes and failures often become viral content. That environment can be particularly challenging for players who already attract heavy media attention. Every missed shot, every defensive lapse, and every awkward play suddenly becomes a topic of public discussion. For Reese, whose personality and confidence often place her directly in the spotlight, those conversations tend to grow even louder. Still, basketball careers are rarely defined by the opening weeks of a season. Many players experience early struggles before finding their rhythm as the year progresses. The question now is whether Reese can turn those challenging moments into motivation, using them as fuel to improve her consistency and prove that she belongs among the league's elite performers. Because if there's one thing sports history repeatedly shows, it's that early criticism can sometimes become the foundation for future success.